Prayer is an earthly request for an heavenly intervention.
A quote from Martin Luther says, "To be a Christian without prayer is no more possible than to be alive without breathing." Soren Kierkegaard says, "Prayer does not change God, but it changes him who prays." Dwight L. Moody says it like this: "Faith makes all things possible." Charles Spurgeon puts it like this: "True prayer, it's neither a mental exercise nor a vocal performance. It is far deeper than that. It is spiritual transaction with the Creator of heaven and earth." If you believe in prayer, expect God to hear you. If you do not expect, you will not have. God will not hear you unless you believe He will hear you. But if you believe He will be as good as your faith.
Prayer is the key, but faith unlocks the door.
Faith is taking the first step even when you don't see the whole staircase. Charles Stanley says, basically there are two paths you can walk: faith or fear. It's impossible to simultaneously trust God and not trust God. To have the faith to see the invisible, expect the incredible, receive the impossible. Faith that can conquer anything. Faith that obtrudes my problems. Oh, faith to know that God can solve it. Faith to vision my freedom. I have faith that can conquer anything. Faith to reach the unreachable. Faith to fight the unbeatable. Faith to remove the unmovable. Faith that stands the invincible. Faith that can conquer anything.
Thus far, the Lord has helped us.
The Gospel of Luke, chapter 12, verse 24. Consider the ravens. They neither sow nor reap. They have neither storehouse nor barn, and yet God feeds them. Of how much more value are you than the birds?
God's hands, God's hands, we are God's hands, we are God's hands.
To make
My field placement has been filled with menial tasks. On occasion, I have wondered if this is really what I am supposed to be doing. I have to admit to being jealous of my peers who seem to be doing more in-depth work. But life is not divided into daily life and meaningful life. The simple and supposedly mundane tasks are just as important and necessary in our lives. My time here has been marked with time for deep thoughts, prayer, and discernment. I am grateful for all the time I spent here and will take with me many lessons. These lessons are the building blocks of my future.
bread or love, to dig in the earth, to feed an animal or cook for a stranger. These activities require no extensive commentary, no lucid theology. All they require is someone willing to bend, reach, chop, stir. Most of these tasks are so full of pleasure, there is no need to complicate things by calling them holy. And yet, these are the same activities that change lives. Sometimes all at once, and sometimes more slowly, the way dripping water changes stone. In a world where faith is often construed as a way of thinking, bodily practices remind the willing that faith is a way of life. The Reverend Barbara Brown Taylor from her book, An Altar in the World.
We are reflections of God. We are reflections of God. We are reflections of God.
To inspire myself and others. To cleanse both physical objects, but also spirits and spaces. To renew hearts, motivation, and hope. To support others as they walk along their own road. And finally, to serve the divine, but especially the spark of the divine that resides in all beings. This marks the place where God has helped us.
Ebenezer. In Hebrew, Ebenezer means stone of help. As I close out my time at WOW Campus Ministry, and as I transition away from my student capacity at Church on Tap, I've brought you here to Fort Fisher. The fall of the Civil War, the beginning of the end of the Civil War starts here, with the fall of Fort Fisher. Here, battles were waged, lives were lost, and when this battle was lost, the port up the way at Wilmington fell soon thereafter, and the war ended. It seemed like an appropriate place to bring you here today. As I reflect on the idea of ministry, I thought of what it would be like to build an altar in the world. And I thought this place a good representation. This place of war, this place of hate, this place of hurt and anger, this place by the water. The river is here. It's kind of hard to see, but the river is there. But by the water, which for me, and maybe for you, represents baptism. And our baptism whose liturgy speaks of resisting evil, injustice, and oppression. Here in this place, I raise my Ebenezer. Okay. As I raise my Ebenezer, as I place my stones one upon the other, I acknowledge those who have gone on before, on whose work we build and on whom we stand. And I acknowledge those who work alongside us, who hold us accountable, and who hold us up. And I acknowledge those for whom we work, the oppressed and the downtrodden, and those whose society does not value. Ready? And I acknowledge our own shortcomings. As we are on this journey and we strive toward perfection. And of course, our Creator. The one who is the pinnacle of all of our beliefs and all of our works. All praise to the one in whom we are and will ever be.
And thus far, God has helped us.
Thus far, the Lord has
The Lord
helped us.
helped us.